everybody, happy Monday. Doreen from Door Designs, and welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas. On today's tutorial, I'm on day 8 and I'm going to be doing a garland. It was probably in the top 3 requests from people on designs they wanted me to do, and I'm going to do this one a lot like I had or have the one on my backdrop that I've had up during the holiday season, and everybody has asked me to show them how I did that garland. And you'll be surprised how easy that garland is. So in doing this one tonight, I'm going to stay as close as I can to that design, but I'm also going to show you different ways that you can kind of change it up a little bit. So I'm going to jump right in. This won't take us that long, and like I said, it's going to be a nice fun design. The garland is a flocked garland that I got at Walmart, and this is how it comes. And I think they were $12.98. It's a 9-foot long garland. When you unwrap it, it's going to be all smooshed and, kind of pushed down. So you'll need to go through and fluff it. And when I mean fluff it, you need to take each pine tie and open it up and kind of move it around. Because when you see it, this is what it looks like flat. So I didn't fluff that all the way. And then you can see how nice and full it looks once you start doing it. Because when you open it up, I'm telling you, it does not look good at all. But by the time we get done, you're going to have a nice full garland. Before I start on the garland, a couple of things for you guys to kind of think about is, where's the garland going to go? Is it going to go above a long mantle or a short mantle? Do you want the sides to hang down even? Is it going to go above an archway or above your front door or outside? So you kind of need to know kind of your measurements. On this one, it's a 9-foot long garland, so I'm going to design it about 6 or 7 foot long, and then I'm going to leave the balance of it hanging down to the side, and we're just going to put some ribbons. What I also do is when I start a garland, I go through and I measure the halfway, and I put like a zip tie or a piece of ribbon or something, because typically that helps me knowing how much space I have from the center to where it's going to bend to go down the sides of my garland. A lot of times I'll put a big centerpiece there, a big bow, and then put bows on the end. But for me, mentally, it just kind of gives me a kind of a spot that I know is gonna, so I don't have too much on this side and not enough on this side. So that's just kind of a little bit of a tip. I'm gonna use 10-inch mesh, and I'm not gonna cut it. You can cut these in strips if you wanna do a 10-inch strip, 15 or 20, and do ruffles through your garland. I'm actually gonna do more of a poof method, where I'm gonna take it and we're just gonna kind of fill it all the way down, but I'm not gonna take it down those sides that are gonna be hanging down. So all I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna use a little bit of my less expensive, this is the one I'm using. It's the Deco Mesh ribbon. I get it at Hobby Lobby. It's $9.99. I've already got some open, so all I'm going to do is take my mesh and I'm going to bend it down a little bit, and then I'm going to scrunch it. And I'll hold this up so you can kind of see it better, but I'm just going to take it and put it in between 2 pine ties here and twist it. And then I'm going to come out about, I'm going to say about 6 to 8 inches, and I'm just going to poof it. And I'm going to come down and attach it to 2 more pine ties. You don't have to have these exactly even. And see, it just kind of makes a nice little poof. So I'm just going to keep going down there. I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to kind of pull it out and kind of eyeball it. Because like I said, it does not have to be perfect, because we're going to put ribbons and berries and things like that in there. And I'm just going to kind of fluff it. And we're just going to keep going down. And then I'm going to cut a piece when I get done and show you what it looks like if you want to do more of a ruffle. I know a lot of you said that you were kind of intimidated to do a garland, but they're really fun and they're really pretty easy to do. It's just kind of like anything you do, you just got to jump in and start designing. And I know I'm kind of getting far away from you, but I really didn't have any other way to keep it close the whole entire length. Okay, so our mesh is in. You can kind of see how that looks. There's my center right there where that zip tie is. And what I do is for each loop, I take one to my left a little bit and one to my right. So it kind of makes it full on both sides going down. You don't have to, it's just something that I do, is left to right. Now I want to show you if you want to do a ruffle, which I've done those too. We're just going to take a piece here and cut it. And just like you do your wreath, fold it over and scrunch it down. So it's going to look like that. And then you would just do the exact same thing. Take it in between two of your ties. Tie it in. Whoops. Tie it in and fluff it up. So you have a little bit different look if you do the ruffles all the way down. I'll just leave that in there and I'll put one down there, and that's kind of how we'll end it. Okay, my next step that I do is I start adding some ribbon, and I'm going to kind of fill it in, and then my last step I do is when I start actually adding picks and things in it. You don't have to do it in those steps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bow on each end and then a bigger bow in the middle, and then I'm just going to do some ribbons in between my loops. And I'm just going to do kind of a basic bow here. I'm not going to keep my tails very long because I'm going to be doing ribbon all the way through it. This ribbon, the first one, came from Craft Outlet. And this one's a little bit different than what I have on the one that's behind me, but I didn't have enough of the red and white polka dot. So this one's kind of red with, I don't know, it's supposed to look like snow, but it's got a little bit of glitter on it. And I'm just going to do 2 loops. The other thing with my garland, I don't think we'll have to use any hot glue. I think everything will just be twisted in, hopefully, with the pine ties. So there is our first bow. So all I'm going to do is take it and twist it in there. Oops, and there's the first bow. So I'm going to do a bow right here in the center real quick. And on this one, I'm going to do 4 loops of the red and white kind of swirly ribbon, 2 on each side. I'm making this one just a little bit bigger since it's going to be in the center of my garland. And then I'm just going to take it right here where my zip tie is, because I know that's my center. And I'm going to lay it down and just tie around it. I'm pulling out 2 of my longer pine ties here. It's weird because I'm designing this to me upside down. So here is our bigger bow in the middle. And then I'm going to do one more quick one here on the end. And I know I'm not showing you how I'm making the bows, but they're just kind of a simple little loop. And the end, once again, 2 loops, 1 on each side of both ribbons. And I'm just dovetailing the ends real quick on this bow. Okay, so we have all 3 bows done. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take both of these ribbons. You can do it separately, 1 ribbon at a time. I'm going to do both at one time. And actually, I'm going to put them here on the ground. And I'm going to layer my curlicue one on top and then my snow one kind of on the bottom. And I'm going to dovetail those. I'm going to make a little bit of a tail, and I'm going to come up by where my bow is at this end. And I'm just going to tie that in. Then I'm going to take both ribbons, just like I did with the mesh, but I'm going to do it with the ribbon. So I'm going to make kind of a loop, just kind of up and down, and I'm going to just twist it in my pine ties. And then I'm just going to take my ribbon and I'm going to separate it a little bit. So you can see kind of how that looks. So I just tied it there, made kind of a half loop, brought it back down. I'm going to do the exact same thing all the way down. So you're gonna make your loop, kind of fluff it up there a little bit, and tie it down. And once again, I'm doing my ribbon like my mesh. One side's going forward and one side's coming back a little bit. I'm going to take it right here behind my center bow. When I separate my ribbon, if I have my curlicue or this pattern on the top, on the first loop, on the second loop, I pull it backwards and I put my other ribbon on top. So I kind of go back and forth on the ribbons. And you'll notice too, once we get a lot of this in, you won't even see how kind of, I'm going to say slender or thin your greenery is. The other thing, if you want it to be fuller, you could have taken just 2 of the garlands and tied them together with your pine ties and have double the width of your flocked greenery. Just about done with this ribbon. I usually do these on the floor. And then I'm just going to cut the end of it off back here. Okay, you pick this up before I fall over. So now you have pretty much your base done. Okay, so I'm going to hold that up so you can see how nice and full, and see how pretty it is just with your mesh and some ribbon going all the way through it. And there's that end piece. Okay, so now you can go through and add whatever you want. I'm going to add some red berries. I'm not going to add much of any more like evergreens or evergreen picks in it. It's mainly going to be some really fun poinsettias and the berries. So I'm going to start with these first, and I'm going to put one on each end and kind of work my way in. I got these at Hobby Lobby. I got some this year and I got some last year. The price on them says $7.99, so I probably got them for 40% off. This is really stiff, so I can't bend it real well. and I don't need it that long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this a little bit, and I'm going to have this kind of coming up. I don't want everything laying flat. So the one thing you'll have to look at too is when you're doing your design, your garland, is how your garland's going to lay. So if it's going to lay to where everything's going to be facing forward, then you kind of want your design to go that when it's hung, you can see the things. If it's going to be flat across your, like a fireplace mantle or whatever, you may want different pieces, some of them coming up, some of them going forward. So for this one, I'm going to put everything kind of a little bit up and forward. So I'm just going to take this in, and we're going to tie it down. And that's what it's looking like. And then I'm going to take one, this has got the tag off, and I'm going to take one down at this end. And I've got the exact same thing done at that end. I'm going to go ahead and put one up here at the center. And I'm going to put it behind my bow a little bit. So I'm going to open that up. And honestly, when I get done with this, I'll probably go back and move a few things around since I'm kind of designing from the back side. So I'm putting this right in the center of my bow, just to kind of add a little bit of whimsical to it. So I put that right there in the center. Okay, so I have 3 of my poinsettias in, so I'm going to go ahead and add some of the red berries. And we're going to do this 2 different ways. First, I'm going to show you, you can just take some long stems and add it that way, or you can do some much shorter ones. So I'm going to cut some of that off. Okay, so I just took the long stem and I have put it down in between where one of my ties are, and then taken my ribbon and kind of gone in and out because I want my berries to kind of stand out. I want them to have a lot of movement. And I'm going to tie the base of it first. Then as I'm working with my berries, I can move them around and tie them with other pine ties as we go down here. going to bend some of them up a little bit. And that's how it's looking with the berries going through it. I'm going to do the exact same thing, exact same berries, but I'm going to take it at this end and go in from the opposite direction. So I'm taking the base of it, tying it in. And doing the same things with some of the stems. Feeding it in between some of the ribbon and the mesh. Okay, now I'm going to take just a stem, and this came from, I think I actually got this at Sim's Pottery, a wholesaler. So it's going to have a little bit different texture because the berries have a little bit of frost on them, almost like an ice look to it, and they're bigger. So we're just going to kind of put a few of those in throughout the garland. Do the exact same thing at this end. I've got a few berries that I hate when when they kind of break. And then I'm just going to kind of keep coming down a little bit further. So this is really all you really have to do for a garland, is just keep adding any kind of picks, whatever your theme is. And I just do one at this side, one on this side, opposite of my center. I've done some in gingerbread and kind of a winter theme, rustic themes. I hate when my loops get smashed. Okay, I'm going to put in a couple of these just to give me the pine cone and a little bit of a frosted evergreen to it. I got these also at Sim's Pottery. I'm going to kind of spread them apart. And I'm going to put it kind of back behind my bow, or not behind it, right in front of it, to kind of fill in a little bit there. I'm going to kind of bend that up. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing on this side. So now you have a little bit of a pine cone and the berries coming on both sides of your big bow in the center. But see how nice and full it looks with just those few stems of red berries, your ribbon. Once you got a lot of this done and you didn't want to add, or you've used all of the picks you wanted to do, but you still had some holes, the perfect thing to do then is to cut some of your mesh, do a ruffle, and then just tie it in. I'm going to show you kind of how we're going to do that on some of the spots right here in front. I've got one branch down here that I want to move it. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of mesh and I'm going to cut a piece and I'm just going to kind of make a ruffle. We're going to kind of fill in a little bit. So we just have a little bit of ruffle. And I'm going to take it and put it right there in front. And I'll do that more going down, but I just want to show you. See how that kind of fills in right there in front? So when it's on your mantle, you don't see underneath your garland. You've got some of the fullness of your mesh. Okay, so I didn't do anything on this, and it's about 18 inches long. So what you can do is you can hang ornaments, you can hang bells, you can do more ribbons. So I'm just going to do some ribbon tails for tonight's demonstration and just kind of fill that in. Just going to do some long ribbon, and then I'm going to do, we'll kind of curl it up a little bit. And I'm going to cut 2 or 3 pieces. And I'm going to dovetail them. And then we're just going to tie these in. And I'm going to take it right up underneath my bow here. And tie them in. And we'll just roll them up and then do some little curlies. this out of the way. Now, if I was hanging this garland outside on my front door, I would probably use some zip ties to also secure some of the berries and things like that. If you're in a place that's going to have a lot of wind or, you know, winter weather, things like that, I would probably do a little bit more than just tying them with the pine ties. But for today's, but see how nice and cute that looks, whimsical with that coming down. And I would make it fuller and stuff like that, but I just kind of want to show you some of the basics of how easy it is to do a garland. You can kind of see. There comes our center, and then going all the way down to that end. And I'll finish that end of it later when I take pictures and stuff. But I just kind of want to show you how fun and how easy it is. You really cannot mess up a garland because it's basically the ribbons you like, the mesh if you want to use mesh. You don't have to use mesh. You can tie 2 or 3 different types of garlands together to make your base. You don't have to use the same ones. And any kind of berries or themes or anything you want. And like I said, I just start at the middle, I mark it. I mark it how long I want it to be and how long I want it to, you know, drape down the sides. And I just start designing in basically halves. So I do my center and then I start here and this end and then just kind of work my way in. If you are a designer and you make garlands and you want to know how to ship them, what I do is I put them in a pretty big box and I will wrap the garland around. So when my client opens it, they'll just pick it up and they'll know where the center is on where it needs to be placed on their mantle or outside or wherever they're going to hang it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed day 8 of the 12 days of Christmas, and I will be back tomorrow with day 9. So if you have any questions about the garland, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll try to answer any questions you can, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care and have a great evening. Bye-bye.